Is my mic on, or do I use this one? Okay, good morning. Hi. First, I want to thank Stuart for having me, and thank you all for showing up so early. I am freelance, so I'm usually asleep right now. I love getting sleep. Hi. So this month's topic, as Stuart mentioned, is work. And I felt like it was a really appropriate month for me to speak because work is something that I do a lot, something that I think about a lot. I wouldn't call myself a workaholic. I have friends, I hang out, but I think hard work is something that a lot of us should do more. So anyway, I'm going to talk about freelance life, side projects, and just some of my ideas about how we can improve workplace experiences. So I'll start off by showing you a little bit of my work. This is some identity work that I did for a local company called Signal Camp. I just celebrated 1 year of full-time freelancing in November. Yeah! I still pay rent. Yay! So in the last year, I've done branding and web design for small local businesses like Signal Camp. I've done UX and UI design for large, very well-funded companies that I can't show you the work, obviously. And I've done a healthy dose of personal work. So since going freelance, I made it a goal to stretch myself creatively and really push the boundaries of what I do with my practice. This is a skateboard that I designed for a local Vietnamese eatery called Rice, Paper, Scissors. Because the city opened up a skate park across the street from where they were serving food, and we were like, let's attract skateboarders with a hot pink, really girly skateboard. It was inspired by the thank you takeout bags. So then we did a skateboarding shoot in Chinatown, and I shot everything on film, which was really crazy, but a lot of fun. I don't know if this is appropriate, but another thing I've done to stretch myself creatively is I participated in the 100-day project, and I'm doing a project called 100 Days of Boobs, because I have them, and I don't know, I think they're cool. It started off as a joke. I was like, this is stupid, I'm just, it's just a joke. But what started off as like something that I wasn't taking very seriously became an exercise in line and form and communication and how one simple mark can communicate so much. It has a touch of humor, and it's become a little more abstract as the series has gone along. And I do a lot of different things, but my first love is photography. These are two of my friends in Paris making out at a rave. And this is a risograph print that I recently got made. When I got this photo developed, I was just like, yes, this is what I want to do with my life. I just want to take pictures of people making out at raves, forever. I could just do that. Yeah, right? It's amazing. So yeah, I do design, I do, illustration for fun, and I've done film photography for almost 10 years now. It's something that I'm starting to take a little more seriously. Last week I had a booth at West Coast Craft. For those of you that don't know, it's a juried exhibition of artists and makers. It's a lot of ceramics and jewelry, and then me with my photography. So design is always going to have a place in my business, but what I'm working on right now is kind of positioning myself as a photographer so that I can begin to take on commissioned photography work in line with my design practice. So I'm going to back up a little bit and tell you about where I'm from and how I got here. I'm from Tennessee, y'all. I grew up in Tennessee. I went to school at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. I have a BFA in graphic design, and I got my first job when I was 15. I was an assistant chef at a catering company. So kind of just dove in, it's I was cooking and cleaning and packing the catering van, driving the catering van, unloading the catering van, setting everything up, serving the food, like getting hit on by drunk old men, and then so I've come a long way. I moved here the summer between my junior and senior year in undergrad to take an internship with the startup About.me. I moved here knowing one person besides the people that hired me. They were an amazing team. I worked with a woman, Laura Gluhanic, who introduced me to almost every single person I know in tech, because she would invite me to birthday parties and talks and park hangs, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't have anything to do after work besides Netflix, so I would go. And I met a lot of amazing people this way, and I wasn't giving out my business card. I wasn't trying to like suss out like who's the most important person in this room. I was just like, hi, I'm here, let's talk. And that's my favorite way to meet people. So about 3 years ago, I started a side project called Form and Future. It was a website of interviews with established designers who were giving advice for new designers. And when I moved to San Francisco, I was invited by Rena Tom from Makeshift Society to take my series offline and into their beautiful co-working space in Hayes Valley. So I started doing live interview events. So I was running this website, and I was doing these events. I was doing it all by myself, and I was getting pretty tired. And I started reaching out to friends and just saying, like, before I even got to this point, I reached out to one of my mentors and said, I'm tired of doing this. Like, I just want to hang out with my friends, like sleep a lot, and just like be like a cool young person, whatever that means. So I was like, I should be living my youth or something. And she told me to not quit and to keep throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. So I did. So I reached out for help, and my friend Nick DiZabato in Chicago introduced me to his friend Jason Schwartz, who was doing a similar project called The Secret Handshake, a website of interviews with designers giving advice. Amazing. So we met and started collaborating, and we decided to make a conference together. So as Stuart mentioned, we did the first conference here in San Francisco at Adobe, and then we did the second conference, same year, last fall, in Chicago. It was the same week, well, wait, I'm going to get ahead of myself, it doesn't matter. Well, spoiler, it was the same week I got laid off when my company closed. Anyway, and then we did the third one in New York about a month ago at Art Directors Club. So at the same time as all of this, I was working full-time as an interaction designer at Smart Design. As I just mentioned, the New York office decided to close the San Francisco office a year ago. So I got laid off. All of my colleagues got laid off. Some of my colleagues had to move back to where they were from, whether that was Spain or France, because their work visas were no longer valid. That kind of sucked. But this is us when we were happy. I'm really getting ahead of myself. This is us celebrating a project on the roof. It was a really great working environment, and I made a lot of good friends there. So my time at Smart Design was spent really, really well. I was wireframing a lot, and I also learned kind of the ins and outs of client relationships and presenting ideas to clients and really working with clients to find appropriate solutions for their business. And my 2 years at Smart Design taught me a lot about the difference between startup life and traditional consulting. So yeah, again, I got laid off. It sucked. It really, 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 really sucked. We got like called into a meeting room at like 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, and we were all like, oh shit, like this is bad, this is not good. So we all got laid off, and so I spent the next month working with one of my friends to prep an interview at different early stage startups that were hiring, because I was thinking like, okay, like this is my chance. I'm gonna like get in early at a startup, like help them, I'll be the first designer, help them build their product, help them really build their team out. But the problem was that I didn't really want to do that. I thought that that's what I should be doing. I wanted financial stability, and I wanted that status. I wanted that feeling of building something from scratch, like I had already done with my conferences and my side projects. I thought, like, from a logical perspective, I was like, I can do this. But my heart really wasn't in it. And so I went on a lot of really good interviews and like one really bad one. And then I had to make a tough decision. I decided to go freelance. This is a video of me jumping off a rock on my birthday this year. It's like 20 feet above the water. It doesn't look that big, but it was really big. And so for me, this is the best metaphor of what it felt like to go freelance. I had seen other people do it through I met a lot of amazing freelancers through the Makeshift Society community. I'd seen other people do it, and they seemed to know how to do it. They seemed to be successful at it, but I was still really scared. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know where this journey was going to take me. But I just decided to trust the process. So I took a little bit of severance and a big leap of faith, and I went out on my own. So now that we're all caught up, I'm going to answer a few questions that I get pretty often about freelance. The first one is, how do you find clients? So all the people I mentioned earlier that I met when I moved here, that I was at the picnics and the park hangs and the talks and the birthday parties, those are the people who became indispensable in me finding my first jobs. I had never really asked any of my friends in San Francisco for anything before. I'd send them little event invites here and there, but I had never really needed anything, and I had never approached our relationships on a basis of need. I just made friends. And so when I went freelance, I reached out to my community. I told them, I'm going freelance and I need clients now. And they all came through, whether it was freelance friends sending me things that they didn't have time to work on, or friends in the industry who were just kind of putting my name out there and saying, hire this girl, hire this person, she's great. I had established, these relationships of trust, and that was really important for me. So my advice is to make friends. Another question I get is, do you work all the time? Yes and no. When I first went freelance, I was really scared. As I mentioned, I was just working all the time, nights and weekends. I was afraid that if I stopped working, that I would just immediately run out of money and not get any more clients and just be in a really bad spot. But after a few months, you're scared all the time when you go freelance. That's just kind of part of it. How many people are freelancers in the room? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I bet you know what I'm talking about. I hope you do. So after a few months, I got more comfortable with my new life as a freelancer, and I actually work really reasonable hours. As much as I can, I don't work nights, I don't work weekends unless it's on my own stuff, and then I don't mind. So that's what I do. How do you manage money? So I moved here from Tennessee, and I was able to afford that because I took out student loans. And I used my time at Smart Design to pay off those loans as quickly as I could. So I had just paid off my last student loan when thank you. It was crazy timing. I had just paid off my student loans when I got laid off. And if I hadn't been debt-free, I wouldn't have been able to go freelance. So for me, financial health is basically the foundation of everything in my adult life, everything in my working life. I believe that being financially healthy and responsible is one of the most important things you can do, and the sooner you get started, the better. I can pretty much guarantee you that if you're not paying attention to your finances, you are in the red every month without even realizing it. If you don't already have one, you should just get a Mint account, see where your money's going, and really educate yourself about finances. So with all that being said, how do I manage money as a freelancer? Well, it's crazy because you're used to getting the same amount of money every 2 weeks, and it's so nice and cozy, and you know what to expect, and you've got this much, and some of it goes to rent, and some of it goes to food, and you kind of know what to do. But then when you go freelance, sometimes you get a lot of money, and sometimes you get no money for quite a long time. So you have to obviously save money. You should have ideally 3 to 6 months of living expenses at all times, and you should be able to know enough about your budget to really realistically say what that is. Do not lowball yourself. You really want to be cozy and take care of yourself. The other thing is that 30% of everything you make goes to the government automatically. So I never even pretend I own that money. When I get paid from clients, I just set that money aside and I just save it up for the government because it's not mine. So that, for me, that helps me not panic when it comes time to pay the government. Okay, next question. How do you balance personal work with client work? It's actually a lot easier now that I'm freelance because I'm totally in control of my schedule. If I feel like doodling or doing a photo shoot on a Tuesday, I can do that. And if I would prefer to do client work on other days, I can do that. When I had a full-time job and I was doing the conferences and the events, it was pretty tricky to balance my day job with my night job. And although I was never working on my side project at work, and most people in my workplace were very supportive, I did have a few people who were kind of like, well, you really shouldn't be working on your own thing because you should really be working on the company's work all the time. And I was just like, well, no. So if you're kind of in that situation where you want to be doing a side project but you don't feel supported, I would just say to kind of keep it to yourself, first of all, and just do it. Do it because it fulfills you, or do it because it creatively satisfies you in a way that maybe you're not getting at your current job. Whenever I go into offices and I see designers who have hobbies and they have interests and they have side projects and they talk about them at work, I think that's amazing. I think for me, that's a good indicator of a really healthy work environment, and that's what I think we should be doing. Okay. So what is life like as a freelancer? Freelance is not for everyone. It really comes with a lot of ups and downs. So there are a reported 54 million people in America who freelance, and 53% of those people are women. And I have a few ideas about why freelance works specifically for women. Flexibility in schedule is kind of the obvious answer, but the not so obvious answer is that freelance, for me, has really it's really been a good way for me to sidestep a lot of common workplace issues that I've experienced as a woman. So I say this with a lot of caution, but every day in an office, there are just moments that you experience of like very casual sexism, whether you're being interrupted or ignored or someone's commenting on your appearance. And I want to preface this as saying that I am coming from a perspective of a privileged person. I'm white. And I've been in work situations where I'm considered diversity because it was like all white dudes and then me, and they were like, wow, like a woman. And I was just like, no, that's not how that works. So I'm going to give a few examples of what I'm talking about, but I want to be clear that the things I'm discussing are just the tip of the iceberg that women and people of color experience in the workplace. They go through a lot more shit. So, first story. When I was consulting a few years ago, I was working with a client who had, they were designing and marketing a mobile product specifically to women. So the project was myself, a UX designer, a colleague who had 6 years of experience as a senior strategist at 2 different mobile companies, and they chose the leader of the project was a man who had no experience in mobile and no experience in UX design. So that's kind of screwed up. We took it in stride, but just looking at the facts, we were in meetings with like 10 men deciding what women want, talking about what they think women want. So we had to, we were really patient, but we were talking about marketing strategies, and we had to kind of explain why things like the busy mom stereotype and the career climbing, like don't have time for a partner, like just career climbing woman, and the third one that was really big is the damsel in distress, like I don't know how technology works, stereotype. And I say this with like a lot of respect for the people who are talking about these things, because they just didn't know why those stereotypes are harmful. So we would kind of really clearly explain why those are one-dimensional stereotypes and that women are. And we did a lot of qualitative research for the project and did everything we could to demonstrate that women are multi-dimensional humans who have brains, are really good at tech. Anyway, yeah. I call it lady brain. When I'm being snarky, I'm like, yeah, my lady brain can understand that. So the other thing that happened is that, so we would be in meetings about the UX of the product. And I'm supposed to be the UX designer in the room, and I was constantly being ignored or dismissed in meetings. I was getting really frustrated, but I wasn't really saying anything about it. And then the other woman on the project just pulled me aside one day and said, you're young and you're pretty, and that's why they don't listen to you. They don't believe in you. They don't respect you because of this. And at first I was really pissed. I was like, man, that's not true. That's, that can't be true. I didn't want to believe that such nice people could also be capable of believing that. But everything that I was seeing in the workplace was proving that to be very true. So that was a real kind of turning point for me where I suddenly realized that I'm not immune to workplace sexism, and that this is something that every woman experiences every single day in the office. And it's not always like the end of the world. You're not like, sometimes it's like out and out sexual harassment, but those are extreme cases. What I'm talking about is the really subtle things in meetings where you're ignored, or you're not trusted to have the knowledge that you have. The other thing I want to say is that, so when you're freelancing, you are project manager, business development, creative, accounting, you're everything. And I think that women are really good at freelance because we're already used to working twice as hard to get the same amount of recognition in the workplace. So, okay. I promise I'm a really nice person, but you know what? It doesn't even matter. So you sound like a teacher. I was working with another client where they were an early stage startup, and they had a logo, but they didn't really have branding, and they hadn't really thought about how they were positioning themselves to their audience, how they were perceived by their audience. So I designed a brand workshop specifically for them to help them. I had really gotten to know this client, and I designed a workshop specifically for with exercises that I felt that they would respond to. And at the beginning of the meeting, the CEO kept interrupting me and making jokes, and I loved a joke, but it was really distracting. And so every time I would get interrupted, I would kind of like take it in stride, like take a breath, and then try to keep us back on track. And then after a few false starts, the CEO says, "You sound like a teacher." And I was just kind of like, wow, thank you. Wow, thank you so much. I didn't know that I had a teaching degree. So I got really pissed when I started to do the meeting. So I just kind of took a deep breath, took it in stride. But it really bothered me. So after the meeting, I pulled him aside. Everyone left the room, and I asked him to stay behind, just like a teacher would, honestly. Now that, damn it. So I asked him, and I just told him, when you called me a teacher, it made me feel bad. That's basically all I said. I didn't have a really eloquent speech. It was just that was a bad thing. Don't do that. And so it was actually really amazing. He was just like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I never would have said that to a man." And I was like, whoa, what an angel. It was great. So I encourage you, it was amazing. He immediately recognized, he was just like, "Oh my God, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I never would have done that to a man." So, one for women. One of the most common things that happens in the workplace is when you're in a meeting as a woman. You're in a meeting and you express an idea for a project, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, what else do we have?" And then some man says the exact same idea you had, and everyone's like, "Great idea, John. John's a rock star." And you're just like, oh. So at first you're kind of you kind of tell yourself well, it doesn't really matter whose idea it was. This is a group project, and it's not really about who, we're all trying to do the same thing. It really doesn't matter whose idea it was. And then you also think, were they even listening to me, or were they just too busy thinking of their own thing? The reason that this becomes a problem is that because most promotional structures in the workplace are based on peer reviews, and when it comes time for people to do a peer review, what they think of John in that meeting where he had this brilliant idea. And they're like, "Wow, John was such a team player. We were really stuck in a hard spot, but he helped us see the way forward." So it really becomes something that contributes to hindering women's promotion and progress in the workplace. So I'm the boss of my freelance business. I love being the boss. It's great. I'm such a good boss. To me, sometimes I'm a really tough boss. But so what's amazing is that I've really connected all the dots after this. I didn't have the stories that I just gave. I didn't really have these things in mind when I went freelance. But when I was preparing for this talk and looking back on the last year, I realized I've gained a tremendous amount of respect as a freelancer, because when I am hired, I'm hired specifically for my capabilities. And when I walk into your office, I'm often introduced to teams as, this is Laura, our UX expert, our design expert. And it sets the expectation right away that I'm here to do a job. And that's all I want. All I want to do is go into offices and do my job. I love doing my job. I'm so good at it, and I just really like doing it. So it's been this incredible context shift where I'm not relying on a system or peer reviews for promotion. I rely on myself for promotion. So right now I'm in the process of growing a business and growing in a larger studio space, and I'm in control of all of that. So I know that going freelance is not a solution for everyone, and I'm not suggesting that it is. I think there are a few things we can do in the workplace to improve the environment for everyone. I think that unconscious bias and diversity training are steps in the right direction, but I think it's not enough. I think at the core, you need to get people to care. So I think that women need to be able to express their grievances at work and be listened to. And I think that when you hire women and when you hire people of color in the workplace, and you hire them into leadership positions, or if you promote them, you need to allow them to be themselves at work. Often when people of color are hired in the workplace, they're asked to be more normal, and where normal means white. So asking them to tone down their appearance or their speech or whatever. India Beale is an artist who was getting an MFA in photography at Yale. And while she was studying, she was working in the IT department. And she's a black woman with an afro. And she experienced a lot of glares and stares and people making comments about her appearance. And now she's a professor in Winston-Salem. And she has a lot of students who are coming to her with the same sorts of issues. They're like, I'm going on these interviews, I'm going to these jobs, and I'm getting told these pretty nasty things about the way I look. So she has done a photography project where she invited black women to come be photographed, and she asked them to dress in a way that they would like to for interviews. Often black women are asked to straighten their hair or wear makeup or wear nude clothes or low heels. And what you see in this photo series is these women, you see women wearing killer heels and bright colors and natural hair, and they look so confident. They look just like, I want to hire these women. They look ready for business. They look ready to do their jobs, and I think it's amazing. So my point is, don't hiring women and people of color is not enough. You need to literally make space for everyone in your company, everyone in your culture, and I think we have a lot of work to do in that regard. Yeah, okay. I think the hard part is over. It's all fun now. So listen, I'm not perfect. I have done and said things in the workplace that I'm not proud of. And I think as we work together as an industry to move forward and to progress and to make the workplace better for everyone, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. So the best thing you can do when you screw up, and you will, is to apologize and listen to that person and then do better. That's it. It's so simple. I think we really just need to be having more conversations with each other and really be willing to listen to what the other side has to say. So I think that, on that point, I think that people need to get used to seeing women and people of color in leadership positions, and the best way to do that is to hire them. So in my own work, so I plan events with Jason Schwartz. We do the conferences. We're two white people, and when we started the conference, we had a conversation about our core values and working together, and we were both in very 1,000% agreement that we didn't want another all-white male conference. It's just very simple. And so because we believe in equaling the playing field for everyone and getting more voices, getting more people on stages and listened to, it has been very easy for us to achieve more than 50-50 in race and gender in our conferences. Most conferences have been about 60% women, 40% men, and the last conference was, I think, 10 women, on stage and 3 men. And no one called us a women's conference. It was amazing. I think that often when you see women on stages, you think, well, that's for ladies. But that's not true. I have something to say for everyone. So something for all. So I'm really proud of what we've been able to achieve with the conference. But what I'm here to say is that it's not that hard. We didn't really struggle to achieve diversity through race and gender and sexuality. It wasn't that hard. We just decided that we care. So I think that a lot of times we hear excuses in the workplace about why people don't want to hire people of color, or why this, why that. So it is my opinion that if you care, you will do something. And if you don't care, you will make excuses. You will say there's a pipeline issue, or she's not ready, or XYZ, she needs to fit into our culture. I think that those are excuses for people that don't want to change. And I think that we can all do better. So that's pretty much it. So what have we learned? It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to do the work you want to do side projects, to go out on your own as a freelancer, or to decide to be a catalyst for change in your workplace. I think it's our responsibility when we get even a little bit of power in the workplace to use it for other people, to use it for good. So I would encourage all of you to really kind of think about that. Think about what that looks like for you. Think about what that looks like for your colleagues. And I would really just encourage you to kind of sit with it and think about your place in our industry and ways that you can improve the work experience for everyone, not just yourself. I say that with love, because we're all pretty selfish. But I think that we're on the right track in a lot of ways. But I think that our industry can improve. So these are my ideas. Thank you so much. That's it.